You're listening to The Rant with David King.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
Doggy do on his shoes.
Billy's dad is a fudge packer.
Millions, as you witness, who are scared right now. What do you say to Americans who are watching you right now who are scared?
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say. Go ahead.
I've been saying it. I've been saying it for 10 damn years. Ain't I been saying it, Miguel? Huh? I've been saying it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Rant. I'm your host, David King. It is good to be here. It's good to be back on this Tuesday, the 11th. A lot to get to. We're going to talk a little CFP, college football playoffs, or in this case, the college football championship game. Got some information news that came in the last minute just before I kicked off the show. And New Year. New you, right? That's the big thing. It's the new year. So everybody has their New Year's resolutions and all the things that they want to do. And one of the big ones that everybody always talks about is health and diet, right? That's kind of like the usual. Everybody wants to lose weight, get back into shape, change a few bad habits. So we're going to talk about some information that I have that I'm pretty passionate about because I started going on a diet in November, and it's been working really good. And I think it works so good that I want to share it with you because if you're listening to this and you're starting a New Year's resolution and maybe you haven't quite got there yet, this might be something that will help you out. I stand by this pretty strongly, so I'm excited to get into that. It's Tuesday, so that means yesterday was college football championship against Georgia and Alabama. If you listen to my episode back for 2022, you would know where I stand on the college football championship in this format. You would know that in my mind, it clearly doesn't work. The system is broken. It's been broken for some time. It's really been broken since they implemented it. It didn't solve the problem of making sure that the best teams or certain teams or all teams had the opportunity to become champions or go to the championship. You could make the argument that it's really, when you really look at the brass tacks of it all, the college football playoffs is really just smoke and mirrors, because if in fact you took away the playoff system, it would be the same. It'd always be 1 and 2 in the championship game. Pretty much Alabama and Georgia. Now you can say, well, Georgia wasn't ranked 2. Michigan was ranked 2. That is true, but Georgia ultimately was, or were they ranked 2 or were they ranked number 1? Who was it that was ranked number 2? I'll have to look that up. I apologize if I got that backwards. I think I might have gotten that backwards. But either way, Alabama and Georgia, number 1, number 2 team in the nation, no doubt about it. In terms of talent, there is no doubt about it. They are the 2 best teams in college football. So you're probably thinking, well, Dave, then what's the big deal? That's who played in the championship. Isn't that who you want to play in the championship? Is the two best teams in college football? Yeah, normally yes. But when they come from the same conference, there can only be one. That's my biggest argument. If we want Alabama and Georgia to play each other in the national title, then get rid of conference championships because they're useless. They don't mean anything. Everybody always says bowl games are pointless and they mean nothing. Well, then conference championships mean nothing, right? Just pick the team who has the most wins in the conference and just award it to them and then move on. Don't even have that game. just take it out of the whole process. Because what you end up having is the situation we had today, or excuse me, last night. And someone had reached out to me and said, hey, if Georgia wins, are you going to, retract your statement? Like, are you going to change your opinion on the outcome of the playoffs? And I'm going to say no. I told him no because I'm not going to change. He asked me, he said, so what will you say when UGA wins tomorrow? They still shouldn't have been there. And I said, yeah, I will still say they shouldn't have been there. And I still think they shouldn't have been there because this win that Georgia has over Alabama doesn't really prove anything. And in fact, it makes the matter worse. If the argument is we wanted the best, it makes the situation worse if you wanted the best team to win. Because now Alabama and Georgia both have beaten each other once in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So they now each have a win over each other. And they're now tied, essentially. So if this was like a best of 3, we need to go in and win. In this situation, we need another game to figure out who's the better team. It really doesn't solve anything. And, in a game such as football where you can't have a best of 3, best of 5, or best of 7 because of the overall physicality of the game, it has to come down to one game. And you could say, well, that's the national championship. Wrong. The one game that Georgia had to prove that they were better than Alabama was the conference championship game, and they couldn't. They lost. Even though I think Georgia should have won that game, and I think we were all expecting them to, especially with the season they had. And I would say the same thing about Michigan. If Michigan had choked against Iowa in the Big Ten championship, they should not go to the playoffs. And frankly, they would not have gone to the playoffs. Everybody knows, they would have dropped out of the top 5 if they lost to Iowa. The whole point of the national championship playoffs were to simplify and fairly find the best team in the country. So having 2 teams that just recently played each other for a conference championship really wouldn't make sense. And I know that would irritate and frustrate Georgia fans to hear that. But at the end of the day, it's like you literally just got 2 games. You got 2 tries to beat Alabama. That's really what it comes down to. You guys couldn't do it the first time. Well, you did it the second time. Well, congratulations. You should have done it the first time. Because on paper, and by the way you have played your season, I mean, I was saying from like the second or third game of the season that Georgia was going to go to I was saying by game 2 or 3, I'll put it this way. I was saying by game 2, Georgia was going to go to the conference championship. In fact, the funny thing is everybody knew who was going to the SEC championship. We knew it was going to be Alabama and Georgia. I mean, that just kind of gives you an idea of where the SEC as a whole is at. It's the conference is net down right now. It's not looking too good. That could very well change. I think right now you have 2 very powerful teams in that conference. Everyone else in that conference looks pretty weak. There's been a lot of coach fires and hires. That could eventually change, I think, in the next course of a couple years. I think LSU and Florida have to get better. They're not going to stay at the position they're at. Brian Kelly, that's his name, from Notre Dame, who just went to LSU. He'll do good there. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, he did great over at Notre Dame with half the talent. He's probably going to be a pretty phenomenal coach at LSU. As dirty as it was for him to leave Notre Dame the way he did, I don't like that. I think it shows just his lack of character. But nonetheless, and listen, it's not a lack of character because he went to New Orleans to coach. It's if you want to take a money deal, that's fine. The problem I have is he basically abandoned his team at the end of the season. Notre Dame had an opportunity. They could have been in the playoffs. It was like Baylor and Notre Dame were knocking on the door to the playoffs. And he just kind of left. He's like, no, I can't win a championship here. I'm gone. Bye. Good luck. And that's dirty to me. So I don't care if you go to another school because the money's better or something, or you think the opportunity to win championships is going to be better, which it is. I mean, LSU's academic standards are nowhere near what Notre Dame's are. But anyway, as the SEC will get better. It's going to happen. It's going to be more balanced. Is what I should say. The SEC is always a dominant conference, but right now it's really just two teams in that conference that are very dominant. And that cycle kind of shifts and that goes. It's an ebb and flow in all conferences, mainly especially like the Big Ten and the SEC. There is times in the Big Ten where there is only one or two powerhouse teams. This year we had about 3 or 4 that were pretty good. Of course, in November they always self-cannibalize and they just kind of hurt each other's seasons because only one of those teams who are in the top 10 are going to win against when they start playing each other. And oftentimes it's 1 or 2 teams that kind of beat the other one, or sometimes one beats one and then the other one, then they lose to another one, and it just messes everything up. But nonetheless, a little more balanced at the Big Ten, in my opinion. And really not in my opinion, it's just factual. There's just more teams that are far better off than some of the teams in the SEC right now. So for all my SEC fans who are spitting out their coffee or yelling at the radio, I'm not bashing your conference. I'm just simply saying right now you have 2 very powerful teams. Everybody else looks weak. That's why we were able to say it's going to be Georgia and Alabama in the SEC conference at the end of the year. And if I said if Georgia can find a way to beat Alabama, they're going to win a national championship. And that's exactly what I said. If they could beat Alabama in the SEC championship, they will go to the playoffs and they will win a championship. Because they look, and as the season went on, I continue to say it, they just look unstoppable. I said, it is theirs to lose. It is theirs. I mean, this was a Georgia team that I have personally never seen in the time that I have been in Georgia and have been paying attention to the Dogs. None of them have looked like this. They've all been good teams. There's no doubt about it. But this was a team that was far different. They were firing on all cylinders. It was a complete package. Defense, offense, 100%. You know, so often you see, and this was the case with Alabama. So often you see college football teams. They'll have a good defense, but maybe they don't have the best offense, or maybe they have a good defense and offense, but they're only one-dimensional on offense. They have a good running team, maybe not a good wide receiver core. Certainly the case with Alabama, I think, this year, from what little I've gotten to watch and in watching them in the playoffs, they really have a strong receiving core, but their running game is not as strong as their receiving core is, especially when they're playing a team like Georgia. And that was the case for them when their receiving core got injured. They were pretty much done. There was really nothing offensively for them to go up against Georgia with, and that's why they struggled to score points last night. And it was only a matter of time. Georgia just had to stay in it. And I'm going to tell you something. They're lucky they did, because they made a ton of mistakes in the first half of that game. It was looking like they just were not going to – I was waiting for Alabama just to pull through. But unfortunately, without having those wideouts, it just wasn't going to happen for them. They couldn't make the big plays, and their red zone offense was just terrible. But it was Georgia's year for sure. So when they lost to Alabama in the SEC championship, I said, well, there it is. You know, they're good. Maybe they're good, but they're not that good. Everybody said, well, they played a lot of teams and they held everybody to very little points. But when it came down to the second real big game of the year for them, besides Clemson, which Clemson's not Clemson this year, they've had some quarterback issues and offensive issues, which is why I think they're not as good. They'll be back. There's no doubt in my mind. Clemson will be back. I think they'll be good next year. They'll get their quarterback situation figured out, and it'll be okay. And I'm sure Clemson fans, if they were listening to this or were in the room, they could tell me a little bit more in-depth reasons as to why the season went the way it did. But they'll be back. I have no doubt. Dabo's a great coach, and they've got a lot of talent over there. But the second biggest game was the SEC championship for Georgia. Every other game besides that was, those teams were not strong teams this year. They did not have a good showing, period. And Georgia kind of emphasized on that just by the way they dominated them. So when they lost to Alabama, that's frustrating. I get it. But at the end of the day, you lost to Alabama. And in my world, if you don't win your conference championship, you don't deserve to go on to a national championship. And that's why I think they shouldn't have won. And I know that's frustrating for Georgia fans to hear something like that, like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. But, in any other sport, you don't get to move on if you don't win your conference or your division. You have to win your division before you can move on to the next level. But we haven't adopted that yet in college football. They probably won't. This system in place, look, it's all about the money. And the fact of the matter is a Georgia-Alabama game in the college football championship brings in a ton of money and a ton of viewers. I'd be interested, and you know what? I'm going to look it up. I'm sure it'll come up. But I'd be interested to see the numbers of viewers that watch this game in comparison to others. I know that the Georgia-Michigan game was like one of the largest audience. It was some ridiculous number of people who watched it. It was in the millions, if I'm not mistaken, 2 million people or something crazy. It was like the highest watched football game of the season so far. And I'd be curious to see what the championship game looked like in terms of those numbers, if it was the same thing. Because what it comes down to is, the NCAA and the CFP guys, they're all about providing good, entertaining football, but they also want the money. They want the sponsors to get paid. They want everybody to be happy. So they want the best possible game matchup. And to them, it's always going to be Georgia, Alabama, SEC. I don't agree with that. I think that's I think that's a misconception, on their part. I know anybody who's in the SEC, they're going to say all day, oh yeah, no, SEC is the best conference and we have the best games and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, nah, it's not really it. But nonetheless, I was irritated yesterday. Everyone was like, oh, Dave, you're mad because Georgia won. It's like, no, I'm not mad because Georgia won. I'm mad because we had to watch a rematch. This is the way Georgia played against Alabama last night is the way they should have played against them at the championship for the SEC. And they didn't. And so now what we have is what you'll see is the CFP will no longer, this is not going to change anything. It's going to reinforce the point of the CFP. The CFP is going to say, well, look, the best team won. We let it play out. This is how it worked out. Everything's good, Georgia was expected to beat Alabama in the SEC championship. They didn't, but look, they came back and they won. And all is right in the world. So no, we're not going to change anything now. The system is going to stay the same. I don't really care at this point if they were to adopt my idea or not. But they have to expand the playoffs. We have to add more teams. Sure, you know what? If Georgia and Alabama went to the playoffs again next year and there was 8 teams versus only 4, it could very well be likely the same turnout as it did this year. It could be Georgia and Alabama in the playoffs or the championship again. Fair enough. But the fact is with more teams and more opportunities, it's going to give more opportunities for other schools to win, but it's also going to give more opportunities for teams like Alabama and Georgia to lose and have somebody else in the running. Because let's face it, everybody was rooting for Georgia because they're tired of seeing Alabama in the championship. Because that's the case. We have to add more teams to make it more interesting, in my opinion. Could be, like I said, could always be the same outcome either way, but we got to do something. There is a serious imbalance in college football, and it's been that way for about it's really been that way since Saban went to Alabama, I feel. But there's really only maybe 4 or 5 teams that have pretty much all the 5-star recruits. And I don't believe that that's because of conference. I think it's just the program. You could take Alabama and put them in any conference right now. You could take Alabama and put them in the Sun Belt, and they'd still be a dominating program. They would be the exact same program. Nothing would change. Because of what Saban has built over there and that empire, that dynasty that he has built, everybody wants to play for him. Everybody knows if you go to Alabama, you're going to have a chance at the championship. You're very likely to win a championship. You're very likely to get picked up by NFL scouts. You know it. And that's why wouldn't it be? Of course it is. And good for Nick Saban for doing it. I mean, that's a lot of hard work, and he's a great coach. I like Saban. I really do. I think he's I watched that documentary with him and Belichick, and after watching it, I really do like Saban. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a good person. I like his motto of, their motto is like, everybody just do your job. I like that. That's so simple and yet so it's simple but so profound. Like, oh yeah, just do your job. If everybody just did their job, then everything will work. If you worry about everybody, what the other person next to you is doing, then you're not worried about your job, and then you stumble, and that other person who may be stumbling, now you got two people stumbling. You get what I'm saying? Anyway, so nonetheless, I'm going off onto a tangent there, but congratulations to Georgia. Like I said, this is the outcome I expected all year. It's just I wish they would have won the SEC championship. But they didn't, and it's just frustrating. It's frustrating. We got the same a duplicate game. I'm really happy that the Georgia won. Congratulations, all the fans are happy. Hey, if the tables were turned and this was Michigan and Michigan won a national championship over Ohio State after losing to Ohio State in a Big Ten championship, I mean, would I still be excited? Sure, I'd still be excited that we won the national championship, but I would still say the same thing. Listen. It's ridiculous that Ohio State and Michigan played each other twice, especially so close. It's one thing if like Alabama and Georgia played each other the first game of the season, and then you go an entire season long, and then maybe you guys see each other again in the playoffs. We can all handle that a little bit better than it's like, 3 weeks ago they just played each other, and it's just it feels more like an SEC football than it does NCAA football. And it feels that way every year. And again, I know what they're going to say. Oh, it's because we're the best conference. We're the best conference. We do football better than anybody. Well, good. Good for you. There's no doubt in the world that the SEC produces some of the best football players in the country. There's no doubt about it. We're not going to argue that. I mean, they practically grow them out here and pluck them from the ground. It's ridiculous. And, that's why you have generally 1 to 2 teams every year in the playoffs or, knocking on the door of the playoffs. My point is like, listen, to mix it up, we need to start adding some more teams. So this doesn't prove anything. It doesn't change anything. Now you have, you've got, they're tied. Alabama and Georgia have tied. They basically, as far as I'm concerned, they share a national championship. I mean, because you're both tied at 1 win, right? So neither of you have proved that either team is better technically. You're both the same. So congratulations. You beat Alabama, but you almost have to share the championship with them because you're both pretty much at the same spot. So anyway, with that being said, I'm going to move on. I was going to go right into the diet thing, but I saw this article and it blew my mind. So I was going to mention it on the radio. It's from Breitbart News. A couple of course, now my stuff's acting up, but there's a few things some things in the news that I wanted to talk about. And this one really kind of surprised me. Here we go. The internet. Has anybody ever noticed how like websites just don't work anymore? It's like you pull up a website and it's just nothing but ads and pop-ups. It's like you get an ad to sign up for whatever newsletter they have, and then there's another pop-up to accept the cookies that you're going to get from them. It's not the good kind of cookies either. It's the bad cookies, the ones that just go into your background on your computer so everybody can see what you've been doing. And then on top of that, you get like an ad for like a weight loss supplement or just some stupid, it's clickbait. It's not going to take you anywhere worthwhile. I don't even know why they put them on there. Is there anybody that actually clicks on those ads that it's like, well, this one's not so bad. This one's like a t-shirt company. American Gun Association. Maybe that's actually something else. But anyway, these ads are weird. It's just like, does anybody actually click on them? Because they always look kind of like sketchy. You know what I mean? It's like, lose up to 50 pounds now. Click here. It's like, I don't know about that one. Anyway, so this is from Breitbart News. It's popped up on my Instagram feed. U.S. to gift $308 million in aid to Taliban-run Afghanistan. The U.S. has offered Taliban-controlled Afghanistan $308 million in humanitarian assistance as the country struggles after barely 5 months of rule by the Islamist terrorist organization. The Democrat-controlled White House has promised the cash boost in an effort to end the humanitarian crisis that followed the chaotic U.S. military withdrawal and Taliban takeover in August of 2021. The aid will be delivered through the independent humanitarian organizations to help them provide healthcare, emergency food and water aid, shelter, sanitization, and hygiene services, and winterization assistance, AP reports. Afghanistan has experienced economic difficulty since the Taliban seizure of the nation. Well, that's no surprise. Nearly 80% of the previous administration's budget, which was used to fund public services such as schools and hospitals, came from the international community and has since been suspended due to the regime change. The collective decision to not recognize the Taliban as a legitimate government has complicated aid efforts as organizations and other nations are reluctant to provide financial aid due to concerns it had the potential to fund the Taliban's atrocities. No kidding. I mean, let's understand who the Taliban is. It's not like a group of Quakers took over Taliban here. Afghanistan. It's the Taliban. These are people that funded terrorism, committed terrorist acts on the United States and other countries. They blew people. They had car bombs and roadside bombs. These are not good people. And yet, for some crazy reason, there's a small minority of people in the world, including some Americans like Democrats, who seem to want to believe that the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan is going to be okay. Like, we could probably work with these people. You can't work with these people. It says here that the United Nations has reported that 22% of Afghanistan's 38 million population are living near famine, and an additional 36% are facing acute food insecurity. Well, the problem is with that. Is that, first of all, there's really no industry in Afghanistan. I mean, they've got like poppy fields and heroin and all that stuff. And there are minerals and mines to be had there. I think there's lithium that they can mine there, if I'm not mistaken. But I think China is going to get in on that. But anyway, there's not a whole lot there. And then now you have a terrorist regime that is not capable of. I can imagine that the leaders of that group that have taken over the country are not sitting at a table going, how do we build more schools? How do we build infrastructure? Mr. Talib, do you have anything to add to this? No. They're probably figuring out how they can build their military and fund attacks against their enemies. And they're probably hoarding money. The money is going to, the leaders of this organization, to prominent people who will help their agenda. And they're not interested in probably building schools or fire stations and rebuilding roads and ensuring that people have the necessary things to survive. And then on top of that, so there's no industry. What do people do in Afghanistan for work? And I generally want to know. Is there an automotive manufacturing plant there where they have like good union paying jobs? I doubt it. So it's a problem with the Taliban, but it's also just a problem with the region. It's never been a wealthy country to begin with. The wealth is usually very predominantly into a certain percentage of the people in charge. It's not like Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia's got all that oil. And so they can work with that. It continues to go on that says that since the Taliban takeover, the U.S. has now given more than $780 million in humanitarian aid to the former ally. Alongside this financial commitment, President Joe Biden's White House has sent 3.3 million coronavirus vaccinations to Afghanistan, with another million pledged to be sent, AP adds. I really, if there's one thing Biden's very good at, above anything, because he's not really good at anything at all, but I'll tell you, they are good at spending our money. They are good at spending money we don't have. I would excuse me, went into a coughing fit there. They're very good at spending money we don't have. I wouldn't give these people a dime. I wouldn't give them nothing. I wouldn't give the Taliban anything. And you could say, well, Dave, what if that funds terrorism? Don't you, what if by not helping them, they attack us? Let me tell you something. These people are going to attack us, and they're going to try to hurt us no matter what. Plain and simple. They are who they are. They've been doing it listen, the Taliban is a group that has been around for thousands of years, since the Crusades. It is a group of radical individuals based around their religion who want nothing more than to spread their ideology across the globe. And they're going to do it in any way they can. Here it says, even as the article finishes off here, even as the aid flowed, reports have surfaced of a return of public executions, torture of those branded as opposition, return to the severe oppression of women and Sharia law. Due to the rapid and sudden nature of the American military withdrawal, the legitimate government of Afghanistan fled, and millions of Afghanistan's people have been displaced, with many traveling abroad, sacrificing whatever stability they had for a new life free of the Taliban. Yeah, so look, what is happening is exactly what we said is going to happen. They're going to do what they always do. It's interesting to me. I'm going to go off on a little side tangent. Christians get a bad rap these days, especially with the liberal left in this country. Everybody always wants to chastise Christians for being judgmental and hate. They have, we don't love, we hate, because we're always constantly judging people and telling people that the way they live is wrong. You know what? Let me tell you something. It's a far cry difference when I tell you that you're living in sin and that you should probably think about the life you're living and changing the way you live, than coming up to you and saying that you're living in sin and then stoning you to death, or throwing you off of a building, or executing you in the public, or telling you that you can't drive a car because you're a woman, or you can't run a business because you're a woman, and you have to cover your face because you're a woman. Christians don't do that. I mean, have Christians done things in the past and, that would be considered, irrepressible or whatever, or considered bad? Yeah, sure. Nobody's perfect. We're all human. Humans do things they're not supposed to do all the time. It's not Christianity's fault that some Christians did some bad stuff. But the reality is that those who practice Sharia law, the Muslims that practice Sharia law, that is an atrocity. It is wrong. And yet, for some reason, in this country, they get a pass. You can't dare say something bad about that. But if you're a Christian, you're evil. They put you up there next to Hitler. It's unbelievable. I just want people to really think about that. If you're not a Christian, that's fine, but that's on you. But think about that. And the next time you want to be highly critical of your local Baptist church that may not be accepting of certain communities, just understand that they're not going around throwing rocks and trying to throw them off of a building like these guys do. These guys are evil people, and they get a pass, and it makes no sense to me whatsoever. And now our government wants to basically fund terrorism. They want to give $308 million to this terrorist organization. How much of that money do you really think is going to go towards infrastructure? I bet there's going to be a lot of shiny new brand AK-47s after that $308 million shows up. But there's going to be a tank or two rolling down the streets, and they're going to laugh at us. They're going to go, these Americans, they give us money. Unbelievable. They just give it to us. We don't even have to try. That's the whole thing. Like, these guys aren't even running their country properly. Okay, you wanted the power, you got it. Now do the right thing. Why are we getting involved? We have people here who need our help. There are states that cannot get the antibodies for coronavirus, and you're talking about giving them more vaccines? Come on. It's clearly a joke. It's sad. It really is. But these are the people that we've elected to run our country. And what they're going to do is they're going to run it into the ground. Speaking of antibodies and CDC and coronavirus. Anyone who knows me and has listened to this show in the past, I'm sorry the old episodes are no longer in the internet because they were taken off from this previous distributor that I used to use. I'm now with Simplecast. I used to be with Buzzsprout. Simplecast, in my opinion, is far better. Buzzsprout, as far as customer service and the way it worked great, but they just charged too much and you didn't get a lot of, you were limited with what you could upload and it was kind of stupid. But anyway, anybody who knows me knows that I've spoken quite a bit about COVID. I was on top of this thing from the moment it started in 2020. I was on point with everything that I said. It's funny how many people told me, who are you, David? You're not a doctor. You're not a scientist. Who are you to talk about this? How do you know all this stuff? What makes you smarter than all these people? First and foremost, it's not that I'm smarter than anybody else. It's not even that I'm smarter than the person who said that to me. The difference between me and a lot of people in this country is I went in and did my research. I went in and was reading between the lines. I was reading the facts, or I was reading the charts, the numbers. I was listening to doctors on both sides of this. I mean, the thing about it is it didn't take a genius to realize, wait a minute, something's not right here. This is not right. This is not what they're telling us it is. And we're overreacting. And really and truthfully, back in March, my argument wasn't that coronavirus was dangerous or not dangerous. I said, listen, it appears that it's pretty dangerous to certain groups of people. My argument back then was that we shouldn't shut down, the economy. And boy, was I right about that. Look at the disaster we're in now. The infrastructure, the massive shortages, the massive unemployment. The unemployment's now finally starting to get somewhat back to normal. But it's bad, guys. I mean, the shortages across the board. It's not just the construction industry. They're talking there's going to be a potential grain shortage. Of course, that has something to do with the fact that China's going to be hoarding some of the grain. So that might be something more, another, kind of silent attack from China. But nonetheless, I was ahead of all this. And the media played a very toxic role in this whole thing. They could have told the truth, but they didn't. They played the panic mode. They fueled one side of this story. They never gave you the full spectrum. And what we're seeing now, that now that Joe Biden has realized that his whole, campaign promise of we're going to control this virus, they can't do it. It's not possible. And I've said that from the beginning. You can't control a virus. A virus is a living organism. It's its own thing. It's like you and me. But worse because you can't see it, right? It's invisible in a way. And it's an organism and it wants to live and it wants to survive. And when you create vaccines and you do all these things, it'll mutate into another form to overcome what you've done to stop it from before. And so there's no real way to control it. You can take precautions, wash your hands, eat healthy. This was an excellent opportunity for America to change the tide. And we're going to get into this right after this. In fact, this is a great segue here in a minute. COVID would have been a great time for America to say, listen, if you're under 65 years old, you have the next. So this is the way the numbers play out. 30%, almost 30% of the deaths from COVID are from people who are 70 years of age and older, right? Or 80 years of age and older. So, that's almost 30%. It's like 28.8% of people. And then from there, you go up to about almost 50%. It's 65 and older. So we know that coronavirus affects the elderly or people who are older. I'm not saying people who are 60 are elderly, so don't take offense. But it certainly affects them harder than others. And then from there, the people that it affects who are young, they all have comorbidities, and it's genuinely obesity. And what has been an epidemic in this country for a long time, obesity. So this was an opportunity for the United States to say, look, we got to really start thinking about our health. not mandate that we eat healthy. I don't believe in that. But this was, instead of doctors going on and saying, wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart, lock yourself in the basement, they could have said, get out, get some sunlight, because sunlight's good for you. You need that vitamin D. Take a multivitamin, get some exercise, eat healthy, right? That would have helped you to limit. You're going to get the virus, folks. Everybody's getting it. And now they're saying that Omicron, you're just going to have to get it because the shots don't work to stop it. And it's pretty contagious. It's not as lethal as the Delta, so that's good, but it's pretty contagious. So everybody's just going to have to get it. And I've been saying that for a while. But Joe Biden, he's finally realizing that they can't control this virus. And I lost the article I was looking up. They've realized that he's not going to be able to control the virus. And now this is going to look even worse. So he's already at a low approval rating of like 40%. So now they're in full scramble mode. The administration is starting to change their tune on the vaccines, the comorbidities, the hospitalizations. They're changing it on everything, period. You're going to watch it. It's happening. And guess what? CNN and MSNBC, they're all going to get on board with it. The CDC director, Dr. Rochelle, when asked how many of the 836,000 deaths in the U.S. linked to COVID are from COVID or how many are with COVID, the CDC director answered that data will be forthcoming. Yeah, because you're going to find out that the majority of deaths from COVID were probably not COVID related. Why? Because it benefited the hospitals to market that way, because they would get, I think, upwards of like $30,000 from the government for every COVID case death that they handled. They were getting kickbacks for it. And they got kickbacks of like, I think $4,000 or $5,000 a patient just for them to come in with COVID, like if they tested positive. And then if they went on a ventilator, they got another, like, I think $8 or $10,000. So you could have, you think about this, you have patient A comes in with flu-like symptoms, you test them, oh yeah, you got COVID. Write it down on their chart. Boom, there's $4,000 for the hospital from the government. Boom, $4,000, one patient. Oh man, this doesn't look good. We're going to put you on a ventilator. Boom, there's $10,000 or something like that. And then if that patient were to pass away, the hospital gets $30,000. The CDC director Rochelle Walensky reports in some hospitals that we've talked to, up to 40% of the patients who are coming in with COVID are coming in not because they are sick with COVID, but because they're coming in with something else and have had Omicron variant detected. So over 40% of the patients coming into the hospitals with COVID right now are actually coming in for something else. So you broke your arm, you've got sprained ankle, you cut yourself, but you have Omicron variant detected, 40%, almost half. The CDC director just said over 75% of COVID deaths occurred in people with at least 4 comorbidities. It's interesting that now all of a sudden, since Biden cannot shut the virus down, as he said, or control it, that they're starting to release this information. This isn't new information, folks. This information has been there. If you're listening to this podcast and you're going, well, they're just figuring all this. No. They're not just figuring all this stuff out. This stuff has been around for a while. And there's been a lot of people that have been banned from social media. They've been canceled from the cancel culture. They've been sent out to the cornfield because of, and not just like, news anchors or famous people. I'm talking like doctors, scientists. The gentleman who was on the Joe Rogan podcast last week, he helped create mRNA vaccines, not specifically for COVID, although I think he may have had a hand in it. But he is one of the creators of this vaccine, these types of vaccinations. He's a well-known doctor and scientist, very, very smart guy, banned from Twitter, because of his stances on COVID. And these are positions that, the Biden administration looks like they're going to start taking. So we're getting played like puppets right now. And you know what? It's not the administration that I'm bothered by it. I'm bothered by the fact that so many people blindly and willfully just go along with the information that's fed to them, and they don't go off and do their research. And for people who do, and who say, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense, and I have questions, they get told, shut up, you're not a doctor, you're not a scientist, what do you know? And then people don't want to talk to you anymore. It's like I got into an unintentional argument with somebody last year. I didn't mean to. It just got brought up. But they were talking about the ivermectin. And this young lady was jokingly saying that it's horse medicine. Like, why would you take horse medicine for coronavirus? And I simply asked very casually, I'm like, well, if this horse medicine cured the coronavirus, would you take it? Well, yeah. Okay. Well, then what are we doing? What are we talking about here? Because a lot of doctors think that ivermectin seems to have a positive effect on COVID patients. The room is divided on it. That's fine. But this medication's not just for horses, for the record. It's been around for a while. It's been administered to humans for a very long time. It's a very safe drug. So there's nothing that's going to hurt, But this is the arguments you get into with people, or the kind of conversations. They just want to laugh at you, or they just want to laugh and gawk at somebody using something other than, a coronavirus vaccination, which, by the way, we're finding out is pretty much useless. It's good for about 45 to 60 days, and then you need a booster. So the vaccination for coronavirus is more like a flu shot at best, but it doesn't provide you from long-term protection. And frankly, you can still get the virus with it. Your symptoms will be just less, and you're less likely to die from it. But if you're under the age of 65 and you're healthy, you're already less likely to die from the virus without a vaccination. So what? You get a bad flu. We all get a bad flu. But I'm not going to go on to that rant for too much longer. This, like I said, was an excellent opportunity for us to get to steer the health ship of this country back on the right course. Because what we are seeing in America, what should terrify the hell out of everybody, and it doesn't? The fact that the biggest thing, the thing that kills Americans the most, more than cancer, more than car accidents, more than semi-automatic weapons, and more than COVID, it's the biggest killer of Americans in this country. Do you know what it is? Heart disease. Heart disease is the number one killer of Americans in this country. It's not even close. And that should terrify people. And yet, what have we done in this country to change that? Nothing. Sure, you've had a couple mayors who want to mandate the size of candy bars and how big of a Coca-Cola you can drink. I don't really want my government to put laws in place that limit what people can and cannot eat. If a person wants to drink Coca-Cola, that's on them. It's your freedom to do so. My argument is that we should have systems in place that better educate people. In fact, I found out from a doctor. He was a heart doctor. He was on a Joe Rogan podcast. I can tell you exactly what his name is. Hold on one second. His name is Paul Saladino. He's a doctor. And he was on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about, I've totally lost my train of thought because looking that up. Anyway, he was talking about heart disease and everything and the problem there. I don't want to be regulated into what we can and can't eat, but we need to have people. Oh, I remember what I was saying. I'm sorry. This doctor, he was saying that most doctors never actually get any formal training on nutrition. So you should ask your doctor. The next time you go for a physical or a checkup, ask your doctor just casually, like, hey, when you were in medical school, did you ever have to go through courses on nutrition? Or did you take courses on nutrition? And according to this gentleman, the vast majority of doctors do not. And yet what we're finding out today is that nutrition is so important. There was another doctor on a show that I was listening to. He's a retired brain surgeon, right? Like neurosurgeon. And he was talking about that what they're finding out through studies is that the majority of brain health, they used to think that your brain health started in the brain, right? That makes sense. If you have a problem in the brain, that's usually where it's at. But what they're finding out now that almost all of the issues like Alzheimer's and dementia and all the problems that go along with brain function, the vast amount of diseases out there that you can contract or whatever, it all starts in the gut. So what they're finding out is that your gut health is what contributes to your brain health. And, for the longest time, this doctor was saying, he's like, it's crazy that for the longest time in the medical profession, the gut has always just been kind of like whatever. It's the gut, it's the intestines. Food goes in, extracts nutrition, and it just passes through and gets, turns into poop. It was always kind of like overlooked. But what they're finding out is that the gut, it actually contributes to a lot more than just the brain, just about everything. And so gut health is extremely important. Well, what does that mean? He went into detail. He was like, the fact that we've issued so much was like penicillin. He's saying that the medicines that we introduce to people, I'm having a brain fart because I'm kind of spitballing this. It's not in my notes. I went off track, but antibiotics. The antibiotics, he's like in the 90s and today we just give antibiotics so much to kids. And he's like, what we're finding out is that antibiotics is like an atomic bomb in your gut. It just wipes everything out. All the good bacteria, the bad bacteria, everything that's in there gets wiped out. And he was like, and it causes lifetime damage. He goes, it takes forever for your gut to readjust, to like reproduce the stuff that it needs in there because it's all been wiped out. And he goes, and we've been prescribed antibiotics so much that we're just destroying people's gut health. And we're finding out just so much revolves around it. And so we're learning a lot more with health, and they're finding out it goes along with that. So your diet is so important. If maybe it's common sense to most people, but if you feed yourself crap, you're going to be crap, But what is crap today? That's another argument. There's a lot of arguments out there of what you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating. Should you be vegan, right? Or should you be just a vegetarian? Can you eat meat? Should you eat no meat? Is meat bad? Is red meat bad? Is chicken okay? What about eggs? Oh, the egg is okay, but not the yolk. But what about the, no, yolk is okay. It's the egg whites. No, the egg whites are fine. Don't eat the yolks. It's constant back and forth. I'm going to simplify it for you right now. If your goal this year into the new year is to lose weight or feel better, I have something here that I think you need to try. Period. And I'm gonna go through it quickly. this is not a diet, although it's called a diet, because it's a simplified way of describing it, right? Because what is a diet? It's restrictive eating in a way. It's kind of like, I don't eat this now, I eat that. This is like a lifestyle. And I know that's a cliche thing to say, because the people like Weight Watchers will be like, this is not a diet, it's a lifestyle. It's a diet. Weight Watchers is a diet. The problem with diets is they're generally not sustainable. The problem with a diet is generally you have to starve yourself, right? There's usually starving yourself. You're counting calories. You're trying to figure out what you can eat, what you can't eat. Well, I've had this much chicken, so now I can't eat any more meat today. I need to have this much rice, or maybe I've had so many carbs, now I need to eat nothing but vegetables, and it's just this, and this. And it gets very complicated. It becomes very hard to manage. It's hard to eat healthy in any way, shape, or form in today's world because, frankly, there's just more bad food out there, and it's cheaper. It's more readily available. Drive up and down your city street. There's going to be far more fast food restaurants than, say, Whole Foods. So it's hard enough to eat healthy. It's even harder when you have to count calories and starve yourself or figure out what you can and can't eat in terms of like that. Now, this particular diet, it is a restrictive diet, but it's simple. Okay. This diet was created by a gentleman named Vinnie Tortorich. And Vinnie Tortorich is spelled V-I-N is November, N-I-E, Tortorich. And you can go to VinnieTortorich.com, or you can Google what the diet is called. The diet is called NSNG. That's N is in November, S and is in November, G. And the NSNG stands for no sugar, no grains. And just from right there, it's pretty self-explanatory. And so this is what I went on in November. I decided, I went and had a physical done for the first time in 6 years. Since being out of the Marine Corps, I went and got a physical. And prior to walking into that physical, I knew I was overweight. I knew I was out of shape. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what my blood work would bring back. I didn't know what any of it would bring back. Thankfully, my blood work came back good. The only thing that they saw was high cholesterol. Not really worried about high cholesterol. There's literally no scientific evidence that proves for a fact that high cholesterol or any type of cholesterol leads to heart disease or any other pulmonary problems. It's just not there. The evidence isn't there. That the studies are all out of whack. They're not done properly. They attribute it to red meat and fat, but they're not really looking at the bigger picture. They don't attribute it to anything else, and so the studies they're really not definitive. So I'm not too worried about the cholesterol. But what I said was, I was like, you know what, I gotta do something about my health. And it's got to start right now. I'm not going to wait till New Year's. I'm just going to do it now. But maybe you did wait till New Year's. So Vinnie Tortorich, he has a degree in physical education from Tulane University. He's been a personal trainer working with private clients in New Orleans and Los Angeles since the 80s. He played football for Tulane. He has taken podium in several world championship 24-hour mountain bike races and has competed in multiple ultra cycling events such as Furnace Creek 508 and the Race Across Oregon. In 2007, he was diagnosed with leukemia. He says he was lucky the chemo had worked, but speaking with his doctor on how to prevent it from coming back, he asked her what I should be eating. He said, should I be juicing, as in like fruits and vegetables, become a vegan or a fruitarian? And he said that her answer had surprised him. She gave him 2 pieces of advice. She said, 1, take extra B vitamins, and 2, cut down your sugar consumption. He had parentheses carbohydrates as much as possible. And that was going to be tough for him because, he was a competitive cyclist. So he thought, well, I have to consume sugar because that's the rule of thumb. Everybody thinks that if you're going to train hard and work out hard, you got to have so much sugar and grain for the body. But what he ended up finding out that when he cut out all the sugar and grains from his diet, not only did he feel better, but he performed better. he noticed that after a long, hard workout, he didn't have the same amount of inflammation and soreness in his joints and muscles, and he began to feel a lot better and perform better over time. I can tell you, I'm not a professional athlete anymore, never was, but as a Marine, I always said we were basically like athletes as much as we trained, but I'm pretty much an average guy. I don't work out, but I can tell you when I started this diet in November, within the first couple of weeks, I immediately felt a difference. It's actually funny because I started the diet in November, and by the end of the month, when Thanksgiving came around, I cheated because it's Thanksgiving, of course, and I could feel my body reacting to the food I was eating. Like I could feel a difference. I could feel a change in the way I felt, and it wasn't like I feel tired, like I got to go sleep because of the turkey. It wasn't even that because we didn't have turkey, we had ham. But I could feel the physical difference. I could feel an itchiness on my skin again. My mouth was like dry. I couldn't drink enough water. And of course the sluggishness came along with that as well. He says here in his program, he has on his website at VinnieTortorich.com. Now, just a heads up to everybody who's listening, I am not endorsed by this. He doesn't know I'm even talking about it. This is just simply my personal opinion. I'm on this diet right now. I swear by it. I think it works really, really well. I've done a lot of different types of diets, and I've done the paleo diet when I was in the Marine Corps. The paleo diet works really, really good. The only thing I don't like about the paleo diet is it is pretty restrictive in terms of what you can and can't eat. It's not as restrictive as this diet, and it's also extremely expensive because if you follow the paleo diet to the T, you can really only eat fresh organic food. You can't eat anything. Like you can't even have like frozen vegetables technically. So it's a problem. It's hard to do. This one is far easier to maintain. It says NSNG stands for no sugar, no grains. And it says here as a term, he said NSNG started off as a term that he would use with his clients to make a lower carbohydrate diet easier to understand and adopt. He makes a great point here, which is he says you may be thinking I'm taking away all the good stuff, but here, the good news is you're going to be able to eat a lot of good food on this diet, and it's true. I have eggs every day for breakfast. I have generally some sort of protein with it. It could be bacon, it could be sausage. I've even had leftover chicken with my eggs. I eat anything. I eat as much meat as I want. I eat tons of meat. I eat cheese. I eat sour cream. The thing about this diet is you can have all kinds of dairy if you want to have dairy. The only thing I would say is if dairy doesn't agree with you, then maybe stay away from it, but you can still have dairy. Be very careful though, because there tends to be a lot of sugar in things like milk. So be careful when you're drinking, if you drink a lot of milk, because and don't drink anything but whole milk. If you're going to drink milk, drink the whole milk, because the fat in that whole milk is good for you. You need that fat. The skim milk and everything else is just not doing it for you. The whole point of NSNG too, it's a very high protein, high fat diet. There's a lot of there's a lot of foodness out there, and he lists them here on this brochure, and it says, some common beliefs that many people still hold and which are fiercely reinforced by the food and diet industries are the following: calorie in, calorie out is the only way to lose weight. Veganism and vegetarianism is the best way to lose weight and be healthy. We all need to eat 5 servings of fruits per day. Fruit is okay because it's natural sugar. Whole grains are good for you. Always choose the low-fat option. I would actually I tell everybody all the time, never choose a low-fat option. And the reason why I go to the grocery store. The next time you're at a grocery store, just look. Go to the dairy aisle. This is a great example. Take a regular option and then look at the low-fat option and then flip it over. You'll see that the no-fat option has no fat. But what they replace that fat with, because what is fat? Fat is flavor. That's why it's all in there, right? So what do you got to do? Because the product still has to taste good. They load it up with sugar. So sugar is far worse than fat at any day of the week. And so yes, the regular, like for instance, I posted this on my Facebook. If you look at half and half regular and half fat free, low fat, both have sugar in it because of the milk has sugar. There's always going to have some sugar to it. But if you look at the fat free option, I mean, it is loaded up with sugar. It's very bad for you. I don't agree with this food. He lists that honey, agave, maple syrup, artificial sweeteners are okay. I would stay away from artificial sweeteners, and I would stay away from maple syrup. There are a lot of studies out there that natural honey is very good for you. Not the processed stuff that you get from the grocery store. The honey that you see next to peanut butter and jelly and all that, that's like mass-produced honey, that tends not to even be real honey. It's usually cut. It's usually a syrup concentrate that they make with honey. So you got to be really careful. If you're going to eat honey, I would say on this diet, unless you're, and I'll get to this here in a minute because he makes a very valid point about this. Honey is okay in moderation and low amounts, and always eat local raw honey is what I would recommend, because there are there is nutrition to it, but I would not consume like a buttload of it. I don't eat any of it at all. Saturated fat is bad for you. Actually, saturated fat's really good for you. That's a myth here that I agree with. Only eat egg whites. Nope. Eat all the eggs. Diet sodas and foods are okay. Don't ever eat anything that says diet on it, especially diet soda. Diet soda is really bad for you. So diet soda, the artificial sweeteners in diet soda actually prohibit you from burning calories. It's the chemicals in there that actually prohibit your body from burning calories and carbs. So you won't lose weight. You're going to drink it. It's still got all this artificial sweetener on it. It's a chemical. It's poison. And it's going to have a negative effect on your body. And now your body is not longer going to properly digest and break down the carbohydrates. So if you're looking to do this for it says here the science of it all. I think this is important. I'm going to read from him. This is from his website. It says the major benefit of NSNG and carb restriction is rapid weight loss from a reduction of insulin and glucose spikes. Although it is helpful to track macronutrients on any diet, most people lose weight inadvertently on NSNG without making a conscious effort to restrict calories. This is very true. When I started it, I lost almost 10 pounds within the first 2 weeks. And, by the end of November, I went from 201 down to 192 in just under a month with no additional exercise other than walking my dogs on occasion and working. That's it. And I really didn't get on the diet to lose weight. I got on it to really just to feel better. So you certainly will lose it. It's no doubt. He goes on here to say weight loss is easier due to fewer cravings and appetite control through a normalization of hormones like leptin and ghrelin, which are dysregulated in people with more adiposity and who are consuming excess carbohydrates. Generally speaking, the more you adhere to NSNG, the easier it gets, fewer sugar cravings, and the more fat loss and health benefits you will derive. Yeah, I agree with that. So the interesting thing about it is the first week of the diet I did, it was tough because I was used to having sweets all the time. I was a dessert guy all the time for sure. So it was tough for that first week and a half, 2 weeks, but after a while it got super easy. It's been tough now into the new year to get back fully on it because I cheated again for Christmas because it's Christmas, man. Your wife's baking cookies and stuff. You're going to cheat. I mean, listen, here's my thing. I'm not somebody who's in medically bad shape, so I'm allowed to. I think it's okay for me to cheat on a holiday for sure, but but since doing that, it has been harder to get back on it. But once I cut it out 100% altogether, it does get easier. It's crazy how your body just kind of redirects itself and fixes it. It says here that there's emerging data supports the NSNG lifestyle, and a recent study was published in The Lancet showing the potential dangers of excess sugars and grains and the benefits of replacing those carbohydrates with calories from fat. There's an excellent documentary. If you want to rent a documentary, and I highly recommend it, from Vinnie Tortorich, go on to Amazon or wherever and look up Fat, the documentary. It'll blow your mind. It'll blow your mind. It goes on here to say that the fact is obesity is not a moral weakness or a character defect. It is a result of damage done to our bodies by overconsumption of the type of foods that we are promoted as healthy by the government. That is slowly beginning to change, by the way, and constantly advertised and sold it to us by the food and diet industries. It's not our fault that we've been misinformed, but it is our responsibility. So the big thing about this, guys, the best way to do this, and he says it in here, is just to go full hard on it. Like full. Don't weed yourself into it. The easiest way to do this diet is just go cold turkey on everything. And if that means going into your refrigerator and throwing all your food out, I would then do it. Like throwing all the bad food out, do it. So anything that contains sugar or grains, and you'll find, and anything that's a substitute for sugar, and a list, throw it away. Don't eat it. Anything with a label that reads low fat, non-fat, low calorie, light, including low fat, skimmed, or non-fat dairy products, get rid of it. Don't eat it. Eat the regular. Drink whole milk. Eat full fat yogurt. Drink regular half and half in your coffee if that's how you like your coffee. Stay away from the sugary creamers. Anything that is a diet product and contains any alternative or artificial sweetener, get rid of it. Don't eat it. It's poison. Protein bars, energy bars, health food bars, vegan bars, protein powder, and energy gels. Get rid of it. Full of bad stuff. You ever drink a protein shake? You generally feel like dog crap after you drink them. I always did. Soda's diet soda's fruit and vegetable juices, sports drinks, coconut water, chocolate milk, and energy drinks. Get rid of it. That's the short list. The interesting thing is sugar is the big culprit here, guys. And is any wonder why type 2 diabetes and diabetes in general is becoming a huge problem in the United States? My new thing since being on this diet is I like to walk through the aisles of the grocery store and read the labels on foods that we would expect to be healthy. Like, for instance, Italian sausage, right? Sausage is good for you. It's fat, it's meat, protein, cool. Nothing wrong with eating sausage, the ground sausage, or any sausage, really. But what's inside of it is what's the problem, the stuff they add to it. And it's funny, Italian sausage, you think, okay, Italian seasoning, some herbs, spices, whatever. They actually put, in this particular brand, they put corn syrup in it. I'm like, why is corn syrup in Italian sausage? Why does that even need to be in there? So I can't eat it. And I don't want to eat it because corn syrup is, if there's one thing that's worse than cane syrup or cane sugar, it's corn syrup. Corn syrup is, ugh. He has a list of different names for sugars that you're going to see on foods. And it's a crazy list. Like, it goes on and on for like a page. It's a full page. Like, I'm not kidding you. When I look at this, you can see all this stuff at vinnietortorich.com. To get this PDF, you have to send him your email. Do it, because he doesn't spam your email at all. He won't send you nothing. I think it's just a way for them to see how many people are visiting the website and wanting to learn. I've never gotten an email from him. And I've sent him my email. I don't get anything from him. So, here's a list of, you may say, well, it's bad marketing. Well, maybe it is, but it's nice that you don't get flooded with emails with like so many other companies do. Just to name a few here, you have agave nectar, Barbados sugar, barley malt syrup, beet sugar, brown rice syrup, buttered syrup, cane juice crystals, cane sugar, caramel, carob syrup, castor sugar, coconut palm sugar, coconut nectar, confectioner sugar, corn sweetener, corn syrup solids, crystalline fructose, date sugar, dehydrated cane juice, demerara sugar, dextrose, evaporated cane juice. I mean, there just goes on. Fructose, maltose, maltodextrin, malt syrup, lactose. There's all kinds of stuff. Sucrose, rice syrup, refiner syrup, raw sugar. And of course, your list of grains that you want to avoid on this diet: wheat, corn, rice, quinoa, oats, spelt, kamut, barley, rye, bulgur, polentas. Foods that you're going to want to, that's going to be cut out: pasta, bread, pastries, pizzas, pies, cookies, thick sauces. When it comes to sauces, make your own. It's so easy to make your own spaghetti sauce. You'd be surprised at how easy it is. Stay away from the stuff in the store, because the stuff in the store is loaded with sugar, and generally some other weird stuff, things you can't pronounce. Soy sauce, crackers, chips, breaded foods, battered foods, grits, tortillas, tacos, and tortilla chips. That's a hard one for me. Dim sum, dumplings, and matzo, just to name a few. Stay away from white potatoes. His diet actually says don't eat sweet potato, but on my paleo diet, sweet potato is one of the very few things we could eat. I'm fine. They are lower in carbohydrates than the white potato, but they are still high in carbs. So if you're looking to lose weight, like if your goal is to lose weight and you want to do NSNG to the T, don't eat sweet potatoes. Stay away from the sweet potato. You should drink plenty of water. Unflavored sparkling water is perfectly acceptable. Coffee unsweetened is good. If you need to put something in the coffee, you don't like it black, half and half is a great way to go. The fat from that half and half is good for you. It's going to give you a little pep in your step. Black and green teas are good. Herbals and fruit teas, broth, chicken broth, etc. Avoid alcohol if you can. I like alcohol. I don't drink very much beer. Beer is obviously NSNG. Most hard liquors are not NSNG, but alcohol is really bad for you too. It has a profoundly a lot of bad effects on the body. But of course, a special occasion by all means. But so, what can you eat on this diet? What should you be eating on this diet? Eggs, bacon, beef, chicken, lamb, pork, fish, seafood, cheese of any kind. Hard cheese is better. Full fat plain yogurt. That's the best yogurt to eat. Don't eat any of the other stuff. Plain yogurt. Don't eat the flavored yogurt that's loaded with sugar. Cottage cheese, the fattiest one you can find. Heavy whipping cream. Creme fraiche, vegetables, except potatoes and corn on the cob. Corn's basically pure sugar. Green salad of all types. Raw nuts. Here's the funny thing about raw nuts, or nuts in general. Watch out for your seasoned nuts. You think, I'm gonna get a pack of like cashews and walnuts. This will be good. It's good for you. Nuts are good for you. And you're right. You can even get the low sodium ones. Look at the back of the package. You'll notice that they are cooked in palm oil. I'm gonna get to that here in about 2 seconds. The only nuts you can buy, you can eat on this particular diet is raw nuts, unroasted, unseasoned. Season them yourself. Go buy, if you're someone like me who loves almonds and loves cashews and all that, buy the raw ones. It will say on the ingredients, whatever the nut is, cashew, almond. Get that, take it home, use some olive oil, avocado oil, or butter, or beef tallow, if you need to, and then season them yourself with a little bit of salt, because then you're avoiding the palm oil. Other things you can have on this diet: butter, olive oil, avocados and avocado oil, berries, and cherries. Berries and cherries is actually the only fruit he says you're allowed to eat. He says this to avoid fruit altogether. I don't do that because I don't eat a lot of fruit anyway, so I still eat fruit. I don't care. And there's a lot of really good information on here. He talks about exercise as a poor way to lose weight, what to expect in your first few days. So the big thing you guys have to understand is that, aren't grains supposed to be a healthy answer? Well, we've always been told that grains are particularly healthy for our hearts and our digestion. However, grains, including whole grains, are very high in carbohydrates, and high carbohydrate diets have an enormous negative impact on our entire system. Findings from a study published recently in The Lancet further show that high carbohydrate foods are bad for us and that fats are extremely healthy. High carbohydrate intake was associated with a higher risk of total mortality, whereas total fat and individuals with types of fat were related to lower total mortality. Total fat and types of fat were not associated with cardiovascular disease, myocardial myocardial infarction. That's a big word to say, or cardiovascular disease mortality, whereas saturated fat had an inverse association with stroke. Global dietary guidelines should be reconsidered in light of these findings. That is from the study published in The Lancet. So we're finding out that grains really aren't good for you. And there may have been a time in the past where they were, but the problem with grains is they're so heavily modified now that they're not the same grains that our ancestors ate. So there is probably something to that as well. They're so modified that they're probably loaded up with far more sugar than they ever used to have. And so there's probably a reason. They very well could have been much better for you in the past, but we've modified all of our vegetables and grain. They're not the same vegetables and grains we were eating many, many, many moons ago. You can still get heirloom seeds. In fact, if you are a gardener, and most gardeners know this, if you want to plant your garden, get heirloom seeds. Do not buy the other type, because the heirlooms are the natural. They aren't the engineered stuff. So some of the suggested fats that you should get on here will be grass-fed butter, coconut oil, macadamia nut oil, avocado oil, heavy whipping cream. I use heavy whipping cream in my eggs, nut butters, but be careful with nut butters, because a lot of the over-the-counter nut butters have they have a lot of additives in the bad oils. Check your olive oil too. If you're going to use olive oil, be very careful with olive oil. Apparently, I learned about this not long ago. The Food Administration allows olive oil companies to cut their olive oil with vegetable oil. So it can actually be like a 50-50 or an 80-20 or some sort of cut. So if you're going to buy olive oil, you're going to get what you pay for. He recommends a brand called Villa Capelli. I have not used that brand yet, but that's something to think about for sure. Other fats, lard, tallow, bacon grease, ghee, MCT oil, full fat dairy, if you can tolerate it, olives, and avocados. So that's kind of just the generic of it. I strongly suggest it. Let me tell you something, folks. My hands used to hurt. My joints used to hurt. I would have puffy fingers. I would feel tired. I used to have really bad itchy skin. Since I've changed this diet, I have felt so much better. And for me, that means more than anything. I have lost a lot of weight. I'm down to 191, and I'm kind of holding there, which is okay for me. I'm 6'2". 191 is a good range, I think, to be at. My old fighting weight in the Marine Corps was about $183, so not too bad. But nonetheless, like, I just feel so much better, and I have energy. I can work longer. I can go longer without eating. I used to have to have lunch every day. Now I don't. I can skip lunch. I can fast through the day if I have to. It's not so bad. One of the other things that I would like to talk about outside of NSNG real quick, and I strongly recommend you guys look into this diet. It's very easy to do. I know it sounds really bad. One of the things you have to remember, unless you're somebody who's like diabetic or has some sort of pre-existing condition or some sort of comorbidity, maybe you're 300 pounds overweight. If you're not in that category where you're someone whose health is just really bad, where you have to make crazy dietary restrictions, you're allowed to fluctuate. You know, if you're like me, you're a $191, generally very healthy young man. You can have the occasional cookie. You can have a day where you go have a slice of pizza. For me, what I've started to do in January, and what I plan to do in the future is where I can do NSNG, I will. So when I go out to dinner, my wife and I love this. There's a good burger joint in town. I get the burger without the bun. I usually do double the patty, and I have them, you know, the particular burger I like to have has a fried egg on it, and it comes with bacon. So it's 2 patties, some cheese, a fried egg, and a bacon. That's what I get. And I usually get like a side of broccoli, or a salad. And then with the salads, you know, I do like a vinaigrette. You know, I try to avoid the house sauces because they tend to be loaded up with sugar. But, you know, if you can't avoid it, do a vinaigrette. At home, I just do olive oil and vinegar, red wine vinegar in my salad. That's how I eat it. I don't do the ranch and all that stuff. It's not good for you. You can make your own ranch if you want to. Just avoid the sugar and the processed oils. And onto that processed oil thing, you know, a lot of people don't know this because you go to the grocery store, you see like canola oil, cooking oil, vegetable oil, and you'll see there at the very bottom, it says like the American Heart Association backs this product as something good for your heart. Let me tell you something, folks. Corn oil and vegetable oil is literally industrial waste. It is bad for you. It is poison. They're finding out that these palm oils and these processed oils are probably the reason why heart disease and cardiovascular disease is on the rise, because what this stuff does is, you know, cholesterol is not necessarily a bad thing. Cholesterol, your body produces cholesterol on its own. So you could literally be a vegetarian or vegan rather, and still have high cholesterol or produce cholesterol. So no matter what you do, your body will produce it. It uses cholesterol to move things around in your body uses cholesterol to move things around in the body. And so the common theme for so long was, if you eat a lot of red meat, that causes inflammation of the arteries, causes plaque, causes a blockage in the artery. Well, that actually, there's no evidence for that. And what they're starting to find out now is that actually these processed oils are what's causing, essentially what it's doing is it causes damage to the blood cell. There's a fancy terminology for it, and I'm sure I'm butchering it, but it damages the blood cells. And what ends up happening is that's what creates, it causes cancer, causes inflammation in the arteries, causes inflammations in your joints, and then that's what causes the anterior blockage. So, I don't care if you do the NSNG diet, but if I could just literally say one thing to you, if there's one thing you would do for me, and I plead with you with all my heart, don't eat don't consume any kind of vegetable oil, palm oil, grapeseed oil, corn oil, whatever it is. Stay away from that stuff. Don't consume margarine. I can't believe it's not butter. Stay away from it. That stuff is going to kill you for sure. It is literally poison. And I mean that in all seriousness. So avoid it at all costs. Use something like beef tallow or butter or olive oil. Olive oil or avocado oil is a great option to cook with over those others. Avocado oil has a high heat, has a high smoke temp, so you can cook a lot with it. If you're going to deep fry something, I suggest beef tallow. You know, it's funny. Many decades ago, I think it was like the 70s and the 60s, you know, places like McDonald's, they deep fried their French fries in beef tallow. They didn't switch over to peanut oil or vegetable oil until the late 80s. So it's certainly doable, and it's probably would taste 1,000,000 times better, in my opinion. If you've cooked anything in bacon fat or beef fat, you'll know it tastes better. So I hope that maybe you get something out of this. I strongly recommend. It's a quick read. It's 24 individual little brochure pages here. It's at nsng.vinnietortorich.com, or you can just Google NSNG and he'll pop up. And look into the documentary Fat. He has a second documentary, Fat 2, a documentary. I haven't watched that one yet. I plan on it. And then he has another one coming out. Really, I think it might have come out yesterday actually. And it is called Beyond Impossible. It's available at Amazon Prime. It is a documentary about the new thing coming down the pipeline, which is this impossible meat. You saw Burger King and McDonald's do it. Now they're starting to pop up at grocery stores. Meat companies like Tyson and Purdue are getting on board with this because it's cheap, it's easy to make, and it's very profitable. But this stuff here is really, really bad for you. I strongly recommend going over and at least watching the documentary. The crap they're putting into that stuff, it is going to kill us. So look into it. Eat healthy as much as you can. And please, by all means, go look at this gentleman's website. It's really good stuff. It's compelling. I've been doing it for 2 months. I'll be going on the third, even though I don't really think this hasn't been a real full NSNG month for me. But I can tell you right now, hands down, I feel so much better since I've done it. I mean, just so much better. I'm telling you, I used to have horrible pain in my hands, especially this time of year, like when it would get cold. I would start to feel pain, and I thought, well, maybe it's just because I've hurt my hands so many times. I've had nothing this year, this winter season, and I just feel so much better. I strongly recommend it. If you're looking to do a diet, if you're looking to get healthy and you want something that's going to work, none of these fad diets, none of these counting calories, you don't have to restrict yourself. The only thing you can't eat is sugar or grains. That's that simple, but you can have as much chicken as you want, as much beef as you want, as much veggies as you want. Any of the other stuff you're allowed to eat as much of it as you want. Now, if you're trying to lose weight, you may want to kind of, meal plan a little bit, but this is going to be the thing that's going to help you the most. I guarantee it. It's helped me. I swear by it. Not only are you going to lose weight, you're going to feel better. This isn't one of those diets where you starve yourself. There's nothing sustainable about starving yourself. Think about that. Like, I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to starve myself. I'm only going to eat like one meal a day, and then the rest of the day I'm going to eat protein bars. It's like, okay, well, that's great. But what are you going to do what are you going to do 3 months later when it's just not sustainable anymore? Well, I think I'm going to go vegan. Well, the problem with being a vegan, if you're going to be a true vegan, is that that's not sustainable because you're going to lack the protein you're going to need to get. So here's the funny thing about veganism that they don't want to tell you about. So what is your heart? Your heart's a muscle, right? So what do muscles need? Protein. If you don't get enough protein in your diet, what happens is your body begins to break your muscle mass down to get the protein it needs to work. And so if you don't have a huge muscle build, guess what muscle begins to get robbed from? The heart. That's why so many, listen, I spoke with a cardiovascular tech. He was like a technician with a heart. They do heart surgeries. He's like, we have vegans. We have vegetarians and vegans come in with full blockages all the time. He's like, we don't know why. We can't explain it. We know why. Because they're probably eating a lot of vegetable oils and palm oils, which is causing the inflammation and the damage to the blood cells. But also because they're not getting enough protein in their diet because they don't eat meat. Their body is robbing the nutrients from other sources, including the heart, and that's why the heart's failing. So, you could say, well, I'm going to be a vegan. That's fine if you want to be a vegan, but just know you need to make sure you get enough protein, and that's a hard thing to do. There's very few people that are true 100% vegans. I think it's a bad diet. I don't think it's a sustainable diet. I don't think it's a natural diet. If you look at who we are and how we're built, we are built to eat meat. We are carnivores. We are hunters. We've been that way our whole life. There's no reason why you shouldn't be eating meat. Meat is good for you. It's the best thing for you. There's a lot of doctors out there right now and physicians and nutritionists that are actually saying that really the only thing we should be eating is meat. That's a whole nother topic for another day. But if you're going to do something that's sustainable. Don't hurt yourself and rob yourself of food or anything because you want to lose some weight. But because in 3 months when you start on the starving diet, guess what happens? You go back to starting to eat, guess what? The weight comes back. This is the easiest thing I've ever done. It sounds like it's going to be hard, but right now this is the best time to do it because it's January and February. There's no holidays. There's no reason to eat. There's nobody baking pies and cakes because of the holidays. There's no reason to eat any of that crap. So this is a good time to start if you're going to do it. No sugar, no grains. That's simple. High fat, high protein diet. I guarantee you're going to lose some weight. You're going to feel a lot better. So on that note, folks, this show went long. But you know what? That's the beauty of being on Simplecast, because now with Simplecast, I can record for as long as I need to. I'm not restricted to any certain amount of time, so I can say what I need to say. And I had to talk about college football and diets and Biden. I look forward to coming back to you on Wednesday. You guys have a great evening. Take care.